Year 5, it's Mrs Gill here and welcome to Week 4 Thursday's maths session. So we're going to begin today with you having a go at completing your arithmetic paper that you can find on your tasks attached. Now we say to spend about 10 to 15 minutes if you can on these questions. There may be some trickier ones in there and we will be starting to look at some of those, particularly the multiplication questions and fraction questions as we go through over the next couple of weeks. So I'd like you to have a go at that. If you could pause the video now, as the next two slides will show you your answers. Yellow group, so these are your answers. If you'd like to pause the video now and you can mark those. And blue and green group, these are your answers. And again, if you'd like to pause the video and you can mark your own answers there too. Today then we're going to be continuing with developing our skills of converting units of measure in order to help us compare in particular and order different units of measure. Now if you remember correctly at the start of yesterday's session I was asking you to think about which you thought was larger between some different units of measure, and now you've got this ability to convert, you are going to be able to now have a look at comparing different units of measure within some problems. So how will you be successful today? Well, you'll use knowledge of converting units of measure, the knowledge of multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 and for some of you 1,000, and you're actually going to need to apply your subtraction skills again today. That's going to be really important for these questions that we're going to be looking at. So you might want to pause the video now and have a little look at this question before we go through it together. Hannah and Ben have a piece of ribbon each. Hannah's ribbon is 15 centimetres long. Ben's ribbon is 60 millimetres long. Whose ribbon is longer? How much longer is it? Now I talked to you about the fact that you're going to need to do some kind of converting today, particularly as these units of measure are different, and some subtraction as well today when you come to doing your comparing of your different units of measure. So have a little look at that question and then we'll go through it together. Okay, so you've got my sort of diagram that you're used to seeing before, and we're going to start up here with what knowledge will help me. Well, as I read the question, I can see here I've got 15 centimetres and 60 millimetres. So I want to think about what I know, my knowledge of converting, and I might want to go back to that diagram from my task from yesterday. But I know that in 1 centimetre, that's going to be equal to 10 millimetres. So therefore, if I've actually got 60 millimetres, I'm thinking about the fact of what do I do to go from millimetres to centimetres. Oh yes, I can use my diagram, it shows me I need to divide by 10. So 60 divided by 10 is equal to 6 centimetres. So actually what I'm just going to record here is 6 centimetres, and I know that that's the same as 60 millimetres. And you want your units of measure before you look at comparing to be the same. So I'd say I've done that first step there. It says, whose ribbon is longer? Oh, well, I can answer that question. Hannah's is 15 centimetres, Ben's is 6 centimetres, so obviously Hannah's ribbon is longer. On the second part of the question, how much longer is it? Well, if I know that Hannah's is the longest, she's obviously the total, and the part that we've got is 6. So actually, do I need an estimation here? Probably not, because I'm probably going to use the strategy of doing this in my head. So I know that 15 subtract 6 is equal to 9. So my final answer then, how much longer? It's 9. Well, I need to record it as 9 centimetres. If I want to be super duper whizzy today, I could also record it in millimetres as well. And I know that there are 10 millimetres in 1 centimetre, so times that by 10 is 90 millimetres. You don't need to record it both ways, but if you wish to, you can, and your answers today may have 2 different possible answers you could have given. So that's the first one. Let's look at the next one then. Slightly different units of measure this time. Same sort of question. Hannah and Ben have a piece of ribbon each. Hannah's ribbon is 1.86 metres long and Ben's ribbon is 97 centimetres long. It says whose rope is longer and how much longer. So coming back to this knowledge again, I want to think about how many centimetres are there in 1 metre. I might go back to my diagram to remind me there's 100 centimetres in 1 metre. So what I want to do is I want to change these into the same unit of measure. Well, actually, I'm going to convert mine. You could convert them into metres, but I'm going to convert mine both into centimetres. The reason being is I feel more confident with whole numbers rather than calculating with decimals. So, how do I go from 1 metre to 100 centimetres? Well, I times by 100. So if I've got 1.86 metres, if I times that by 100, my 1 goes to my hundreds, I'm going to have 186 centimetres. So I can record here 186 centimetres. It's the same. Whose rope is longer? Oh, it's Hannah's again. Don't be fooled, it won't always be Hannah's, but Hannah's rope is longer this time. But it says again by how much longer. So we know that the largest is, if we're going to be comparing the two, the largest number in our bar model is the whole, and we're subtracting 97 centimetres. If I did want to do a rough estimate here, I might have 190 subtract roughly 100. So I'm looking at the answer being roughly about 90 centimetres. Let's see what it is then. 186 minus 97. Now I'm going to show this two ways. Some of you might do a column. Some of you might say, okay, I've got 186 minus 97. You might decide you're going to minus 100, which equals 86. And because I've taken away 3 too many, that rounding and adjusting method, your answer is 89. So let's just double check that one, shall we? 6 take away 7. We need to do some exchanging here. Here's 9, and again here, 89. Yep, so our answer then, our final answer is 87 centimetres. And if we really wanted to do this in metres, we haven't obviously got 1 whole metre here, so we're going to divide by 100 is 0.89 metres. But again, don't worry about this second step. That's just an extra bit you could do if you wish. So, next one then, we've got Hannah's ribbon. Again, this time she's got 123 centimetres and Ben's is 5.6 metres. Well, what do I know? Well, I want to know 5.6 metres into centimetres. Well, I know that there's 100 centimetres in a metre, so I'm going to need to times by 100 here. So I'm going to end up with 560 centimetres. That's what that's equal to. So, whose ribbon is longer? Oh, this time it's Ben's ribbon that's longer. And if I want to compare them, obviously the largest then being Ben's, and I'm going to be subtracting 123. Okay, so if I wanted to do a rough estimate, I'm probably looking at roughly 560 subtract 120, so I'm looking at about 440 for my answer. Different ways you could do this. You could use a column method. I'm going to do a different method just because it's always good to show you lots of different ways. It's a little bit like partitioning really. I'm going to take away 100, which leaves me with, and these are sort of my mental jottings here, 460, and then I'm going to take away 23, which is going to leave me with 440 and 37. So quite close to my estimate there. We've got 437 centimetres. And again, if you wanted to convert that into metres, so you need to divide it by 100, 4.37 metres, and that's your final answer there. Okay, so last one then. Some of you might want to get started at this point. If you're in blue group, you may also have a question that looks a little bit like this one, where we've got Hannah's ribbon this time in millimetres and Ben's ribbon in metres. So this doesn't, not everybody needs to try this one. If you want to get started now, you can. This one's a bit harder, so if you want to sit and listen to this one too, great. If you want to get started, that's absolutely fine. Now we haven't touched too much on this, going from millimetres into metres. Well, what I can tell you is when I go back to my diagram, if I know that going from millimetres to centimetres is dividing by 10 and centimetres to metres is dividing by 100, altogether that's actually dividing by 1,000. So in 1,000 millimetres there is 1 metre. So if I've got 1,253 millimetres, if I divide that by 1,000, we've obviously got 1,000, so it becomes 1.253. Now I need to think about, do I want to work in millimetres or, metres I should say, or do I actually want to take my 1.6 metres and convert it into millimetres? 1,600. That's probably what I'm going to go for, because when I'm calculating, like I say, I like to work with whole numbers. So, whose ribbon is longer here? We can see it's Ben's again. And how much longer? Well, he's 1,600 and Hannah is 1,253. If we did use a column method for this one, we may find we've got a lot of zeros to deal with here. So I will show you, but again it might be better, a little bit like before, if we actually partition and use that method to help us. So 0 from 3 we can't do, but we can see that actually we've got nothing to exchange here. So we come into our hundreds, this becomes 500, we're going to have 100, so now we've got 10 tens, so if we make that 9 tens and take a 10, 10 take away 3 is 7, 9 take away 5 is 4 tens, 500 take away 200 is 300, and 1,000 take away 1,000 is nothing. So we've got 347, really important again there, millimetres. So that is our final answer. Okay, so that's a bit of a trickier one, but another one there as well if you wish to have a go at some of those challenges. Again, you've got answers today, so if you'd like to have a go at marking your work and show your teacher what you've done, we can't wait to see what you have achieved today. Thank you.